grabbed the dog and told me, get in the truck with me. We drove out to a field. My dad took a 45 with me standing 5 or 6 feet away from him, had the dog and blew the dog's head off in front of me, blew the dog's head off, looked over at me and goes, that's what happens when you don't listen to what I say.
All right, Tom, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me.
All right, I'm going to start off, guys. This is Tom Jones. I'm just going to start off with listing. I know these aren't all your accomplishments, but they're pretty incredible accomplishments. So you are the owner of Quit Proof,
Yep.
right? Quit Proof, 7-time Muay Thai champion, 2 world titles, 4 North American titles, and several state titles. The only person to ever run a full marathon, which is 26.2 miles, and compete in a sanctioned Muay Thai prize fight on the same day. That's nuts. Consecutively circumnavigated the Hawaiian island of Oahu 3 times, running, cycling, and stand-up paddleboarding. Ran the length of California from Oregon to Mexico at a pace of 15 miles each day. Ran the length of California from Oregon to Mexico at a pace of a marathon each day, first in 1998, then in 1999, and again in 2001. Ran across North America on foot from Huntington Beach to California to New York City at a pace of a marathon each day for 121 consecutive days in 2000. Whew, I'm getting tired reading this. Ran 76 consecutive marathons from Alabama to Utah in 2003. Set the first ever stand-up paddleboard long distance world record by paddleboarding from Oregon to Mexico, 1,250 miles in 93 days. Broke the stand-up paddleboard long distance world record by paddleboarding from Key West, Florida to New York City, 1,507 miles in 95 days. Set the first ever flat water world record paddling 500 miles in 16 days. And then in 2010, you're named the Waterman of the Year by the Surfers Environmental Alliance. Wow, man. Yeah. Jesus. And you're a Marine combat veteran.
That's it.
Wow, man. I like to just start off because it seems like your resilience and stuff of your story really starts in your childhood. So, talk to me about where you're from and what your childhood upbringing was like.
I'm from all over. My parents moved over 30 times before I was removed from my home when I was 12 years old for child abuse and put into a children's institution that was run by pedophiles. Childhood was extremely challenging, train wreck, plane wreck, dumpster fire, however you want to put it. When I was 7, we found out my father had cancer, kidney disease, and the tuberculosis, and he was terminally ill. He wasn't going to make it. My mom was very sick mentally. She was either going into a mental institution or coming out of a mental institution for doing things like thinking that God told her to kill her 3 kids and then herself. So my entire childhood, my mother was pretty much unavailable. She was either, like I said, catatonic because they had her on lithium, heavy doses of lithium, which makes them pretty much sedated. So my father beat my mother extremely bad one day and she ran away from home. My father, that was in Florida, my father decided he was going to kill her, loaded me and my little brother up in a car, and we stalked our mother till my father was too ill to carry it out. And he beat me really bad with a cane one day. So a neighbor called the police, and the police came. They said, "You're coming with me." And I didn't want to go. I ran over my dad, and I held on to him. I cried. I didn't want to leave the only home that I knew, even though it was incredibly dysfunctional and very unsafe for me to be there. My father would get all spaced out on pain medication and wake me up in the middle of the night with either a gun to my head or a knife to my throat, sweaty, eyes just dilated and crazy, saying things like, "Do you love me? Do you love me?" Telling me things like, "Life's unfair. I don't know if I want you to live a life that's unfair. I don't know if I want you to live in this world. I think I'm just going to take us both out right now." And things like that. So finally, I was removed from my home. Was made a ward of the state of California. Thought that I was saved. They put me in a children's institution. And unfortunately, come to find out that children's institution was run by pedophiles. So I dealt with that until I was 17 years old. I ran away from that, and I ended up going into a mental hospital. I had a complete mental breakdown and got put into a mental hospital. And they put me in the closed ward of the mental hospital. And when I went into the closed ward of the mental hospital and they put me in with people that were like my mom, I had an epiphany. I was like, I'm not crazy. I just have problems, and my problems have solutions. And so when I was checked out of the mental hospital, someone suggested I join the military. And it wasn't long before I figured out that the Marine Corps was the only one that would take me, because I didn't have a high school education. I had a 6th grade education, a troubled background, and the Marine Corps was the only one at the time that would take someone like that. So I joined the Marine Corps, and wasn't long when I got into the Marine Corps and we got off the bus and they put you on the little yellow footprints.
Hold on, Tom. I'd like to back up just a little bit, just because, man, you said a lot of crazy things right now.
Yeah.
Stalking your mom to go kill her. How old were you when your dad took you to do that?
About 10 or 11. It was nuts.
Did he like communicate to you what you guys were going to go do?
What he was going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And
my dad was like,
do you remember
he was heavy.
Do you remember how that like made you feel as a 10-year-old?
I was always scared. I was petrified all the time. I mean, the guy would wake me up in the middle of the night, sweating his freaking head to death. And I mean, he had a loaded gun pointed at, he would wake me up with the thing like to my forehead. I don't want to say that I ever got used to it, because I never knew. I mean, my dad was a serious person. And if he said he's going to blow your head off, he'll blow your head off. And let me just tell you a story. When I was about 7 years old, when I told you we found out my dad was terminally ill, we lived on a farm in Missouri. We had a dog. That dog ate the chickens. And he says to me one day, grabbed the dog and told me, get in the truck with me. We drove out to a field. My dad took a .45 with me standing 5 or 6 feet away from him, had the dog, and blew the dog's head off in front of me, blew the dog's head off, looked over at me and goes, that's what happens when you don't listen to what I say.
Wow.
I was petrified my entire youth, and it's an act of God that my dad did not kill me and himself.
Were you going to school at this time?
Because we kept moving. Like I said, we moved about 30 times before I was finally removed from my home. And I know that because the children's home that I ended up being put into, I ended up actually shutting that children's homes down in early 2000s. And they brought my mom up to testify. And my mom was severely abused by my dad. And she ended up getting better and better after he died, because she got with the guy that was stable, that took care of her, and they put her on the stand, and she told him straight out, we moved all the time.
Did you have siblings?
I had a half sister and a brother.
Were they experiencing all this too?
My brother was. When my mom ran away from home, she took my sister with her. My dad beat her severely, and she came out. So we were standing out in the driveway hearing my mom get beaten. And she came out with a fur coat. I remember, I can see it in my mind. She came out with a fur coat. She had sunglasses on. We had a green Cadillac. She told my sister, get in the car with her. I said, can we go? She said, no, I'll be back. I'm just going to the store. And she never came back. Then that was in Orlando, Florida. As soon as my dad figured out that she wasn't coming back, maybe a week, sold everything. We had an orange Volkswagen, but like a Beetle, loaded us up in that and said, we're going to kill your mom. And off we went across the country. He thought that she was in California, which she was. He figured out where she was, which was with her parents, which was in Northern California, the San Francisco area. We drove there, found out where she worked, stalked her, like for real. Like you see in the movies, you drive up in the car and you're watching. And I was so scared for my mom, because I knew for sure the guy was going to die anyway. He knew he was going to die. He knew he was terminally ill. He had nothing to lose.
And you would see your mom just carrying out her day?
Yeah.
You're doing surveillance on her.
100%.
Wow. And what prevented him from, when he would see her, to getting out and just...
Don't know. I don't think he thought it was the right time. I think he was trying to figure out what her movements was and then figure out a plan to get her. And so my dad had kidney disease, and he had a surgery when we were in Orlando, Florida, before she left. He had what they call a fistula put in, which means they tie a cow vein into your vein so they can plug the dialysis machine in. So we drive to stalk her, and his kidneys fail. So he has to get treatment for that. And that's what pretty much saved her life. He had to go into the hospital. So we drove to San Diego, where they had a dialysis center, and he started getting dialysis 3 times a week. So he was too sick to do it.
Did the police ever show up to your guys' house?
The only time the police showed up to the house was when he beat me so bad that somebody called the cops.
Because they heard what was going on.
They heard what was going on. And I was trashed. The guy ruined me with a cane. They took one look at me and they're like, "You're coming with us." And I flipped out, and I was like, "No."
So how old were you when you went into the foster care system?
12.
12. Wow. What happened there? Did you ever have an opportunity to report that? Like, did social workers come visit the...
No, because it was privately funded. You want to know something that'll floor you? Have you ever heard of the Freemasons? It was the Masonic home.
Really?
Yeah. The state didn't come in there because they didn't take any state money. The state would show up and they go, "Beat it. We don't take money from you. This is a private property. You're not welcome here." Now, after the case that I did against the Masonic home, now they have to let this. Well, first of all, the home that's in Covina, they don't raise kids anymore. That was part of the settlement. So my life story's crazy.
Dude, it's already wild. We're not even dipped into it yet.
And I was familiar with an abuser, like a beat you abuser, a hold a gun to your head abuser, a wake you up in the middle of the night with a sharp knife to your head or pointed at your chest with a hand on top. I was used to that kind of abuse. But see, sexual abuser, a physical abuser is more like Conan the Barbarian, right? But a sexual abuser is more like a serpent, like a snake. They're sneaky. Physical abuser kicks the door in and beats the shit out of everything. But a sexual abuser, they're the serpent.
They groom you.
They groom you.
Manipulate you.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing that really I had the hardest time with was I didn't fight it because I thought that that's what love was. Because that's what they told me. That's what the abuser told me, that this is the way you show love. And I never fought it. And that later on, that just ruined me mentally. I was like, how in the hell how was I okay with that? And I tell people that I work with, there's a reason that the rearview mirror is smaller than the windshield. We shouldn't focus on that. We should focus on what's right in front of us right now. And but it did a huge number on me. And it's taken a lot of inner work. Have you ever heard of the 80-20 rule?
Yeah.
In this sense, 80-20. And when I heard of it, I was like, wow, that's amazing. So most people think that it's 80% the action that you take and 20% the inner work that you do. But that's not the way it is. It's 80% the inner work that you do and 20% the action that you take. That makes you healthy, wealthy, and wise. When I joined the Marine Corps, I was about end of 19, beginning of 20.
So did your dad pass?
Oh, yeah.
He passed away. That's what prevented him from...
Well, they removed me from the home, his home.
How long ago after that did he pass away?
Maybe 2 years. And then he asked to see me on his deathbed. And so they asked me if I would see him. And I go, yeah. My father used to be an ordained Episcopal minister. So on his deathbed, he told me, will you please forgive me? I found God again. I'm so sorry, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I, of course, broke down and cried. I was like, yeah, I forgive you. I don't know. I don't know what to do. My whole child, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know whether to poop or go blind. It was like clinically insane.
What was your recruiter experience like?
It wasn't that bad because I was intent on going in the Marine Corps. So he didn't really have to sell me on anything. I went in open contract.
You did that right after being in a mental institution, right?
About a year afterwards, yeah.
Did that create any obstacles of getting in?
I never mentioned it. And you want to know something else that'll blow your mind? I ended up getting a top secret PSYOP ESI NATO security clearance.
So that must have never popped up.
No, it never popped up. I got a phone call out of the clear blue sky with some people that I grew up with. And when I was in the Marine Corps and they did the special background investigation for the security clearance, my friend called me and goes, "What the hell are you into now?" And I'm like, "Why are you asking that?" He goes, 3 guys with black suits showed up at my front door. We were in my pool room playing pool, smoking dope and drinking. These fucking guys show up at my front door, show me a Secret Service or, FBI, like flash me their ID, and they start asking me all kinds of questions about you. What the hell are you doing?
Wow. That must have been scary. Wow.
My friend called me, he goes, "I was so high." And he goes, then the guy shows me his ID from the FBI. He goes, "I just crapped all over myself."
So did you get an opportunity to pick your job going into the Marines? And what year was it?
No, it was 1982.
Okay.
And the whole time I was in boot camp, they're like, "You're going to be a cook, boy. You are my cook." That's exactly
So you went on an open
contract, yeah.
What'd you end up getting?
I had 2542 communications and electronics. So I was put in the comm center and I was handling all kinds of sensitive material. And I ended up graduating I ended up graduating series honorman out of the whole series in boot camp. And it was because I was the only recruit. I'm convinced I was the only recruit that had said goodbye to my mommy and daddy a long time ago, and my cozy little dinners and my warm little bed. I was already institutionalized. When I was in the children's home, it was an institution, so they had a chow hall and they had an infirmary. So I was completely institutionalized when I went there. And the Marine Corps to me, was like the best camp ever, right? They said what they meant. They meant what they said, for sure. Whatever they said, you knew that was exactly what was going to happen. There was tons of structure, and all my clothes matched, right? First time in my life, for sure, all my clothes matched. And so I graduated number 1 out of everybody.
Can you recall any stories from boot camp? You started to get into showing up getting off the bus and getting on the yellow footprints.
Yeah, we got on the yellow footprints, and I'm looking at the guy next to me. He's like 3 times my size, and he's just freaking petrified. And I looked up and I go, like, "What's the matter with you?" And he's just like, and I'm just like, I looked around and everybody's just completely petrified. And I'm like, this is nothing. So when I graduated from boot camp, before I graduated, they called me into the duty hut. And so I'm locked at attention, and the senior drill instructor goes, "So what is it with you?" And I'm like, "Sir, the private doesn't understand." He goes, "What the fuck happened to you that was so fucking bad that nothing we can do even we can't break you, basically, And I said to him, "Sir, permission to speak freely." I just totally remember it. And he goes, "Spit it out." I go, "My father had cancer, kidney disease, and tuberculosis." And I go, "He was 50 times meaner than all 3 of you fuckers put together. No offense, but like, this is great." Are you kidding me?
Do you remember what his response was?
Yeah. Locked me back at attention. Told me to get the F out.
He got the info he needed.
Yeah. But my drill instructors got general court-martialed because they beat us really bad.
I was just going to ask, in 1982, were they putting hands on you?
Yeah, bad. And so anyway, somebody in our platoon, their relative was a chaplain that was really high up in the Marine Corps. So he writes the letter to the chaplain, and the next thing you know, right about a week before we're supposed to graduate, they basically came down on the drill instructors, and we got new drill instructors. They held me after. I had to testify against my drill instructors, which I was not willing to do until they put me in front of the base commander, and he goes, "Here's the way it is. Just me and him," right? And this is MCRD San Diego. And the base commander pulls me in, and right before I go in, they're like, "Whatever you do, do not step on his red carpet, right? And all this other stuff. So I go in and I meet this guy, and he says, listen, I understand that you don't want to testify against your drill instructors, and that's admirable, right? Because you don't want to turn on fellow Marines. He goes, but this is the way it's going to roll. Either you're going to tell the truth, or I'm going to send you to Ice Station Zebra, right? Forever. It's going to be horrible, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, I'll tell the truth. So I ended up testifying against my drill instructors.
Wow, man. And what were they? Were they just putting hands on you just when you messed up, or?
All the time. And since I was the guide, whenever anybody else messed up, I got beat too. But I was used to it. I was like, this, another day at home. Wow. You know what I mean? This is nothing.
Do you recall like an incident where they put their hands on you? Can you walk me through a story?
All the time. They slugged me in the gut all the time. We were out on the grinder marching, and I had the guide on, and evidently I didn't do something right. And my little toenail, I can show you still, my little toenail is destroyed. So the drill instructor comes up, and I have the guide on. He picks the thing up and goes, ram, right on my foot. And he goes, motherfucker, blah, 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 blah. You know how they do. And my little toe's never been the same.
Oof.
And then they pulled me in front of the whole platoon before the investigation on them started, like days before the investigation started. They announced to the platoon that I was getting dress blues, right? So they called me in front of everybody, and they go, Jones is the honor man. He's getting dress blues. And do you know why he's getting the dress blues? Does anybody here know why? So of course, nobody raises their hand. He goes, because he can take a punch better than any of you motherfuckers. That's why he's getting dress blues.
Wow.
Gospel.
Wow.
100%.
Holy cow, man. So when you graduated boot camp, I imagine you didn't have no family. Did you have family or friends or anyone show up?
So after my dad died, and before I went into the mental hospital, I had rekindled a relationship with my mother. And so she showed up at my graduation.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
And my mom was a sweetheart. She was a sweet lady. She just had severe mental problems. They drugged her bad with lithium, and she was getting beat all the time.
Where do you think her mental problems stemmed from?
I think it was genetic in her family, because her mom ended up killing herself too.
Oh man, that's rough. So what unit did you end up getting assigned to, and what was your welcome like as a brand new boot Marine?
So I ended up, my first duty station was in Beaufort, South Carolina. So it was at MGACC 29 Palms for my advanced training. And then I got my orders to Beaufort, South Carolina. And I'll never forget if I lived to be 1,000,000 years old. So they give me my orders to Beaufort, South Carolina. And so I asked the clerk, I said, can you tell me anything about Beaufort, South Carolina? And he's like, doing that. He looked right up at me, looked me in the eyes, and he goes, it's a heavily wooded area, son. That's what he told me. He goes, it's a heavily wooded area. That's what it is. And I was like, okay. So anyway, I go to drive to Beaufort, South Carolina, get to Atlanta, Georgia, and start driving to Beaufort, South Carolina. And you drive this road there, and it literally looks like Deliverance. It's like this deserted road with trees that are just, and the road goes on forever and ever and ever and ever. About the time you're convinced that you're thoroughly lost, Beaufort, South Carolina shows itself. So I was at the air station for around a year, and then I got orders to 3rd Marine Division on Okinawa, the Camp Courtney.
When you showed up, and during that time as a boot Marine, did you go through any type of initiation or anything?
No, it wasn't bad.
No?
Mm-mm.
Oh, nice.
No, none of that was bad. Once I got into the fleet, everything seemed to be chill, so to speak. I mean,
what was Okinawa like?
Okinawa was good. I had a car. I was like, we used to drive to Kadena Air Base for lunch, So I had a car, and but I would get off on deployments for like 6 months or whatever. Then I got deployed to the Philippines. We were in the jungle, in McSai jungle. I was told to go, and that was a combat zone. The Marcos was being overthrown at the time. So there was stuff going on all over the place, and like I wasn't shooting at other people, but I was in a combat zone where the rebels were, and the Philippine army and the Marines and we were advising them, and there was a lot of stuff going on that was combat related. And so I was told to go to a burn pit. Part of my job was to burn classified material. So I go to the burn pit, which is basically a hole in the ground because you're out in the field. So it's basically a hole in the ground. And I throw the classified material in the burn pit, and I have accelerant, which is basically a canteen of gasoline. And I'm pouring the gasoline on top of the material that I put in there because I'm going to light it on fire. And evidently the burn pit was already warm from somebody else. So there was embers in there that were super hot. When I poured the accelerant in, it blows up. And then I get thrown back, and I have the canteen in my hand. So gas gets all over my arm, and I catch on fire. So I drop and roll, dick, roll, right? I put myself out, but I'm burnt pretty bad. So I go to the field hospital. They immediately send me to Subic Bay. I'm in the hospital there for about maybe 2 or 3 weeks. And then they tell me that they don't have the facilities to take care of me the way I need to be taken care of. So they medevac me to Naval Hospital, San Diego. I spent about a little more than 2 months in the hospital there getting rehabbed. And then right then, my EAS was up, and I was going to get medically discharged anyway.
Wow.
So that was it for the Marine Corps.
Wow. What rank did you get out?
Lance Corporal. But when I was in the Marine Corps and I was stationed at Beaufort, South Carolina, one thing that my dad did was he put me in martial arts when I was around 4 years oldish, right in there. And I had continued martial arts. And when I was in the children's home, I stayed in martial arts. So I got really, really good at martial arts. So when I was stationed in Beaufort, there was a Chuck Norris school there. It was the only martial arts place in town. So it was easy for me. I went there. And I befriended the people in town. And there was a huge karate tournament in Atlanta, Georgia called the Battle of Atlanta. And this was before I went to Okinawa. So I won the Battle of Atlanta. I won the whole shebang. And Chuck Norris happened to be there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that's where I met him. So met him there. And the universe is weird. Like we were talking before we started this, I was like, nothing happens by accident. Everything happens for a reason. So I meet Chuck Norris there. When I get out of the Marine Corps, I'm in Pomona. And the only Chuck Norris school in the area was here in Huntington Beach. So I started coming to Huntington Beach, and I ended up not living in Pomona anymore. And I moved to Huntington Beach. So I'm going to martial arts here. And the guy that owned the school, I didn't know it. He kept it real quiet. He was Chuck Norris's cousin. So he comes up to me one day and says, hey, Chuck Norris owns a restaurant in Newport Beach, and he's looking for doormen. Are you interested? And I was like, hell yes. So in 3 months, I went from doorman to general manager of Woody's Wharf in Newport Beach, and I was Chuck Norris's training partner, driving to his house in Lemon Heights after I had worked at Woody's Wharf and training with him. And that was like a major fork in my life, and he became my mentor and friend.
Chuck Norris. Mm-hmm. What a mentor to have. Wow. Is Woody's Wharf still around?
Mm-hmm. It's in Newport Beach.
Wow.
Yeah.
And does he still own it?
Sold it a long time ago. First time Chuck Norris and I spar at his house. I can tell you a couple of really great stories that are Chuck Norris stories.
Awesome.
So the first time that we go to spar at his house, we touch gloves, right? And so I'm kind of kicking back, and I'm going, wow, how should I do this? You know what I mean? I'm thinking to myself, well, he's Chuck Norris. So I just whip a round kick, and it whack, hits him right in the face. Big red mark on his face. He just looks at me, and I'm just like, well, he looked at me, and he goes, and I'll never forget what he goes, so it's going to be like that, huh? And I go, well, you're kind of Chuck Norris. I didn't think I should hold back any, you know? And he goes, no, all good. Touch gloves again. And he does a spinning back kick, hits me right in the solar plexus. And I'm like, boom. And we've been great friends ever since.
Wow. So most of the martial arts were you doing, was focused on karate?
Yeah, at the time. Yeah. I ended up getting into boxing, right? So when I was in Okinawa, I was married, and I tried to get an accompanied tour, but that didn't work out too well. And so I went to Okinawa, and I wanted to see my daughter born. And in Okinawa, you could fight in bars. There was no weight divisions, and it was winner take all and loser take an ass beating. And that's when I started full contact. And so I won enough money to see my daughter was born in Kui Hospital on Okinawa. So I flew my pregnant wife at the time over, rented an apartment out in town, had the baby, flew them back, and kept going on with my Marine Corps life until I got blown up.
Holy cow. And then and you got into Muay Thai, right?
I got into Muay Thai. So I was fighting full contact, and then I was watching TV, and we had our best guy, his name was Rick Rufus, and Thai boxing was completely unknown here. And so this guy from Thailand was like 2 weight divisions lower than our best guy, and our best guy got carried out in the 10th round on a stretcher from leg kicks, right? And I said to myself, I need to learn that. I need to learn that. So the only place that there was to learn Thai boxing at the time was kind of here in Huntington Beach. There was a place in LA that I ended up going through too, but there was a guy here, his name was Yuki Horiuchi, and he was a Japanese guy, and he taught Thai boxing. And that's where it started for me.
Wow. Is the gym still around?
He ended up dying. But I ended up he set me up to go to Thailand to train. They called him Mr. Sacrifice. He didn't like white people at all, at all. And I ended up fighting. So Thai boxing at the time was very new. So it was pretty fragmented and not super sanctioned and not super organized like it is right now. So I eventually ended up fighting amateur here in California, and I was fighting pro in Las Vegas at the same time, just to make money. And one of my first pro fights, I remember it was at Union Plaza, and I go up to the front door, and I'm looking at the fight poster, and at the time it only had the featured fighters, and I remember looking at this one guy, and it was Jason the Kid Smith. And so anyway, I was like, oh, okay. So I go and I weigh in, I meet the fighter guy, and I sign the contract, and I go to sleep. I wake up at like 1 or 2 in the morning. I'm like, oh my God, I just signed a contract to fight Jason the Kid Smith, the champion, right? It was one of my first pro fights. I went and I banged on this Yuki's door. He came to the door like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, you set me up, blah, 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 blah. He goes, don't worry, you win, you champion.
How'd the fight go?
I won.
Wow.
It was a mean fight, but I won. Then Yuki set me up to go to Thailand. I go to Thailand. I go to this Thai camp. This guy meets me at the airport at like 3 o'clock in the morning. He has one eye that's riveted on me and one eye that's wandering all over the place. And he tells me he's going to pick me up at 5 o'clock in the morning, which is just a couple hours later, but I need to give him all the money. And I'm like, why do I have to give you all the money now if you're going to pick me up in 2 hours? Shady guy. Needed all the money right then. I was like, oh, my trip's over. Here's the money. Shows up 2 hours later, picks me up, and holy crap, we go to a Thai camp. I didn't speak any Thai at all. They didn't speak very little to no English. They talk amongst each other, and I'm in. So there was, Thai camps are typically at someone's house, or they were at that time. They were at someone's house, right? And they just turned it into a camp, and then they have a house. This Thai place had a restaurant with a wall separating the ring and the restaurant and this guy's house. But they kept making me go over to the restaurant and work. And I was like, I want to punch and kick, And they're like, okay. So they let me punch and kick a little bit, and then they sent me in the restaurant to work, wash dishes and clean tables and stuff. And I'm like, oh, this must be wax on, wax off or whatever, right?
That's exactly what I thought.
I'm like, okay, this is like part of the process. This is old school, right? So anyway, their fighter won a big, huge fight, and they take everybody in the camp out to eat to celebrate this fighter's fight. So I end up eating duck soup, and I get way ill, like food poisoning, ill, bad. So I'm super ill for like 2 days, and they finally decided to take me to the doctor. So they take me to the doctor. The doctor speaks English. He's talking to the Thai guys. He's looking at me. He's talking to the Thai guys. He's looking at me. He looks over and he goes, "Why are you here?" I'm like, "Why am I here? I paid this guy. He has one eye locked on me, one eye wandering, pay him all the money, and I'm here to learn Thai boxing." And they're like, the doctor's like, "That's not what he told them." He told them, "Just make this guy work at your restaurant, and here's $500, right?" And so by the time they're like, "Oh, you want to learn Thai boxing, huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So then it got brutal. Real brutal. So they worked me out like one of their fighters, for real, except for they were going to run me out of the camp, and they couldn't come close to breaking me either.
Wow.
And so I come back to America. I win like 3 or 4 fights. I fly back to Thailand. I'm like, they're like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "I won." Let's do this again. Yeah.
What kind of stuff did they put you through? What was so brutal?
They beat me. I mean, they had these kendo sticks, and they just beat the crap out of me with them. Hit at my legs to block the leg kicks, hit at my arms to block the punches. It's a bamboo stick.
Wow.
Boom in my gut. I mean, all kinds of stuff. I was like, you're not even close to my dad.
Did you get like broken shins and all that?
Not broken, but beat up, real beat up. Yeah. And this is day after day after day after day, right? And at the beginning, it was really bad because your shins are like, and then they hit you again with it when you're hurting.
How old are you at this time?
25-ish.
What do you think's making you want to endure all this while you're going through all of this?
I was used to that. That was comfortable for me. What was hard for me to get used to was smooth sailing. And that's why I self-sabotage so much. Anytime that life would get smooth, I had to take the gun out and just blow my foot off, sabotage myself, just so I could be back in chaos, hardship. And that was comfortable. That was what I was used to. I wasn't used to things being okay. That's what I had to get used to.
So I imagine in inside of you, when things felt like it was going too smooth, that was really chaotic for you.
Scary for me. And for me, I was so I was so angry and so bitter at life. I would have 100% went to jail if I didn't have this outlet of beating the crap out of people.
Did you know that at the time?
I don't think so. No, I was just angry, and at the time it felt good to beat people up, and it felt good to get hit myself, and I don't know. It seems like now it just seems like a different life, totally a different life.
How long did you fight for?
Off and on, almost 20 years, but I ended up going to drug rehab twice. I ended up being a cocaine addict. It's just self-sabotage.
How'd you fall into that?
I wanted to numb myself, and that was a way to do it, by smoking cocaine.
How did you pick up that habit? Is this in the midst of fighting and everything?
Yeah. I mean, I went to some fights high on cocaine, for sure.
Really?
Yeah.
How did you get introduced to that? Like, what drove you to even like...
Just fate. Meeting some people that did it, tried it, and I was like, oh, I'm numb. I'm not wanting to not live or whatever. It just numbed me. Mm-hmm. And then by that time you're addicted. And once you're addicted, you're a slave to it. It can start out, we're all having fun until somebody gets hurt type thing, right? And the next thing you know, you're an addict. And the next thing you know, you're a slave to it. And so I ended up going to drug rehab. I was teaching martial arts at the time. Some of my students did an intervention. They took me to Hoag Hospital, and they examined me, and the doctor comes up and he's like, "Man, you're not doing good. You only got like a couple of weeks to live." And I was like, okay, well then I need to get out of here and get on it. You know what I mean?
A couple weeks to live. What was going on with your body?
my body was shutting down or whatever. Medically, I was smoking this stuff bad. And so they did the intervention. They talked me into going and talking to the doctor, and they did all these blood tests. He's like, hey man, you're not doing good. Like, things are not, this isn't good, you know? And so I was like, well, then I need to get out of here. You know, I'm out. And the doctor told me, and I'm sure he could have lost his license. He goes, did I tell you how we got people off of cocaine here? And I go, no, you didn't. He goes, well, we give them cocaine and then we wean them off it. I go, you have cocaine? Check me in.
Oh, wow.
And my life's a crazy story. So they checked me into the chemical dependency unit at Hoag Hospital. I'm there for about 3 days, and I'm like, hey, where's the coke? There's no coke, right? So one of the things I was doing, and I'm not proud of it at all, is I was collecting money for cartel drug people. And that was one way I was getting my cocaine, right? I was like strong arm collecting the money. So I'm in the chemical dependency unit at Hoag, and I tell them, hey, if you don't give me cocaine, I'm going to start destroying people until I get cocaine, right? I go to the phone and I call my drug dealer and I say, hey, pick me up and bring me cocaine. I'm at Hoag Hospital. It's like, what? And I'm like, if you know what's good for you, you'll bring me cocaine. You'll pick me up at Hoag Hospital. So I jumped the wall to get out of Hoag Hospital, and there's a bunch of Newport Beach cops there pointing guns at me, telling me to get down on a gurney or they're going to shoot me.
Wow.
So I get down on the gurney. They take me to Charter Hospital in Costa Mesa, and they put me in the rubber room there. And they tie me down on all 4 points. And it's like they have mattresses on the wall. Like it's like a rubber room for real. I talked my way out of that. And so they're supposed to take me back to Hoag Hospital, but their vehicle broke down. So I call my drug dealer back up. I go, hey, I'm at this place called Charter Hospital in Costa Mesa. I want you to bring me cocaine and pick me up. He's like, oh, I don't know. He goes, I show up at Hoag Hospital and there was a lot of police people pointing guns at you. I do not want to come. I was like, you better come if you know what's good for you. You bring me coke, right? So the guy comes, he brings me coke, he picks me up. And about 3 days later, I turned myself back into Hoag Hospital. And I'm like, I'm ready. I don't want to do this anymore. And that's the second time I went to rehab.
Going back to, you used to be a tax collector for the cartel. How did that come about?
They knew that I was professional fighting and stuff like that. And they asked me if I was interested in doing it. They would trade me cocaine to do it.
They just found you one day, or?
No, I was buying stuff from them.
Oh, so you...
And they knew I was fighting, and they knew I was capable and all this other stuff.
And what was that like, going to collect money? Like, what would you do?
Well, I was actually pretty smart about it. I would show up and go, hey, here's the deal. We're going to try to do this the nice way, right? You owe money. You need to pay it. These people are serious, right? If you don't pay it, bad things are going to happen to you and everything you know, including your goldfish. For real. So you need to pay it. That's the deal. You're going to see me this time, and we're going to have a conversation, a nice conversation. And after that, if you don't pay, I use psychological warfare. You're not going to see it or know it or nothing. It's just going to hit you. I'm just telling you, just pay. Just figure out how to pay. And I told the people that I was collecting for, I'm not collecting money from somebody who can't pay. That was the only rule I had. If they have the money, you can send me. But don't send me to somebody that's desperate and doesn't have money. Right? So the few times that I did collect for them, it worked because they had the resources to pay. I'm like, hey, I know you have the resources to pay and you're just not paying. These people aren't going to go for it. Okay? I just was reasoned with them. I go, look, these people aren't going to go for it, man. So they send me as an emissary up front to try to do this peacefully, right? Because they'd rather have their money than have bad things happen, really bad things happen, and have to look over their shoulder too. So they send me. I'm the first line of defense. You owe the money. You know you owe the money. I know you owe the money. You need to pay the money, because if you don't pay the money, bad things are going to happen to you and everything that you're connected to, including the goldfish and your dog Spot, right? So do us all a favor and pay the money that you owe. And all this will go away. Nobody gets hurt.
Were they paying you with money or just?
They paid them.
No, but for you to go do that.
No, they were giving me cocaine. That's all I wanted.
That's all you needed.
That's all I wanted.
Wow.
Stupid.
I mean, that's when you're
I was addicted.
right?
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's why when I work with addicts, I tell them I know what it's like to be an addict. It's the worst. It was the worst time of my life. And I had we've talked about is horror, right? Worst.
So you would say being addicted to cocaine was even worse than everything you endured as a growing up as a kid?
Yep. It's bad. It's bad.
I don't know what
A to Z. It's bad. Staying up all night is bad. Taking money and never paying it back is bad. It's just bad. There's no redeeming qualities about drug addiction at all. It's horrible. And the biggest horrible part is you have control, but you don't have control. And it's just as simple as all you got to do is say no. But you don't.
You feel like you have control.
You don't. You don't. You need it. And especially with that, your body physically is addicted to it. Like you need it.
Yeah, because I mean, once you get legit addicted and you try to stop, you go through withdrawals.
Bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're psychologically too. You really want it.
I mean, I was in law enforcement for about 15 years, and I did work in the prison system for a while. And you'd see people come in and start detoxing, and man, you'd see them and they're going through it bad.
Sweating, cramping, throwing up, bad. Mm-hmm. And you can die from that. I mean, you can straight up die from it. We finally get to this part in the story where it's finally starting to be good news. So I get out of rehab and I go back to fighting, and I start training people, like personal training people to training, fighting and weightlifting and stuff like that. So I ended up meeting a guy that owned the largest computer memory vending company in the world. And I started training him and traveling with him. And I went to his house every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning. He was a great influence, and he would take me to Ireland and all over the world with him, because I would train him in the hotels and stuff like that, and double as a bodyguard for him. It was great. And he would have motivational speakers come into his company, because he had like 400 or 500 salespeople. And so he'd bring motivational speakers in to motivate his salespeople to drive more sales. And the salespeople really, in my estimation, really didn't give two rips about it too much, but I was just like enthralled with these people. I'm like, you know what I mean? This is what you do. This is what you're supposed to do, blah, blah, blah. And anyway, when I was training with Chuck Norris, he used to look at me at the weirdest times and say the most profound things out of the clear blue sky. One morning, we're stretching out, and he looked over at me and he goes, Tom, he goes, do you know the more people that you can help in your life, the more successful and blessed you'll be? And I was like, no, Carlos, I didn't know that, but that's great. Let's get back to kicking and punching, right? And so these motivational speakers were kind of saying the same things. And the guy that I bodyguarded for, he had Reggie Jackson, Joe Montana, a race car driver in Europe, because he did a lot of business in Europe, called Jacques Villeneuve, that would go and meet companies and play golf with CEOs and stuff like that to drive business. And he would also send his celebrities he was very philanthropic. So he would send his celebrities to like Make-A-Wish to fulfill the last wish of the kids. Chuck Norris did that a lot too, and I was exposed to that. And he asked me one day, he said, I want you to go to this children's home that's in Orange County and make an appearance for us. And I go, I don't want to go to a children's home. No children's homes. I don't want to do that. So anyway, he talked me into it. I ended up going to Orangewood Children's Home here in Orange County, toured the home, took a lady that ended up becoming my second wife, and we get to the toddler section, and they bring out a toddler that's in a cast from here to the ankles, and I start crying. And my girlfriend at the time goes, oh, what happened? Did it fall down the stairs or something? And I'm crying. And I'm like, it didn't fall down the stairs. It got beaten. And she goes, no, No, they don't do that to little kids. We're talking like a 2 or 3-year-old. I was like, no, someone beat that kid. That's what happened. Sure enough, that's exactly what happened. We go to the toddlers clean. They want you to hold them and not leave them. And then you get to the kids that are 8, 9 years old, and you can see that they're starting to make the transition to not being numb and not hating and stuff like that. And then you get to the teenagers, and they made the transition. And when I left that home, I felt like a car hit me. And they wanted a playground. And I was sober. I was back fighting, top of my game, world title level. And I was running for a title fight. And I was like, I want to help these kids get to the playground. And I was listening to all the motivational speakers that were coming into the company. And this is what you need to do. And, I was motivated to do it, but I couldn't figure out how. And I literally had an epiphany. I was like, I need to run a long distance, a long way. I run a long way every day. And if I do that, people want to know why. And if people want to know why, that gives me their attention and we can raise money for this playground. So in 1998, I decided I'm going to run from Oregon to Mexico. I went to the guy that owned the computer memory vending company. And I said, hey, I want to run from Oregon to Mexico and I want to help them buy a playground. And he looked at me and I'll never forget. He goes, where's your business plan? I go, what's a business plan? He goes, well, if you're coming to me as a business opportunity to join with you to do this, you need a business plan. And a business plan is a plan that tells me how you're going to do that, how we're going to raise the money for this playground, and how that's going to happen, and why it benefits my company to do it. And I said, okay. So I went to his director of marketing. And remember, I'm a strong arm for the guy. And I'm knock on the director of marketing. He goes, what do you want? I didn't do anything. I go, what's a business plan? So he helped me design a business plan. And I befriended a congressperson, Harriet Weeder, that was local here. And besides that company, Viking Components, I went to Vans, right? And a guy named Gary Schoenfield owned it. So I go there with my business plan, right? And I'm like, I got a business plan. We're going to go do this, right? We're going to go raise money to go run. So I knew that my friend would help me, but he wasn't going to help me. He said, you need other companies to do it. Take your business plan and go make it happen. Right. And I knew it. Now I know what he was doing. He was teaching me how to be successful. He goes, you need an instrument called a business plan. I'll help you, but I'm not doing it all. You got to go raise other money. So you're going to take your business plan and you're going to go pitch other people like you did me, and you're going to get the rest of the money to do it. I go, fist pump. I'm out of here. Get set up, meet with Gary Schoenfield at Vans. He brings his chief of operations in, his vice president, all these people into this big room that has a big long table, and it has all these products on the wall, right? And so anyway, I start pitching him on my business plan. I'm feeling good. I'm like, I got a business plan. I got a pitch. I'm going to make this happen. This is great. You know what I mean? I'm going to run. I'm going to raise money for a playground. This is awesome. So Gary Schoenfield listens to maybe like 10 minutes of my pitch. And he goes, I want everybody out of here. And I was like, I'm doing good, man. What do you mean everybody out of here? He goes, everybody but you. So he kicks everybody out of the room. And this guy looks at me and he goes, if I had 100 of you, he goes, I could fire everybody else. I could fire everyone else. He goes, you're driven. You're amazing. You're successful. You're a great athlete. You're a blah, blah, blah. You're blah, blah, blah. You got a great business plan. He goes, what do you see around this room? I go, I see shoes and shirts and hats and all the stuff I see, right? And he goes, I'll tell you what. He goes, you show me how I can sell more of this stuff on my wall and I'll give you your $10,000. I go, okay, I'll be back. So I call him back about it. I go back to the director of marketing at Viking and I'm like, go. He goes, what? What? I go, he did this and this and this. And he goes, well, tell him that there's this new thing in marketing called cause marketing. And if you are if you support a cause, it's brand new. Cause marketing was brand new at the time, 1998 and 1997. And so he tells me about cause marketing, and he has all these statistics that show that if you're selling the same thing that they're selling and you're a do-gooder, that this many customers will come your way. And if you're selling something that they're selling, a new customer will come your way this much of the time. So I run back to Gary Schoenfield and I go, cause marketing, right? If your competitor isn't supporting a good cause and you are, they'll buy your shoes first. Here's proof. You know what I mean? If a new customer is coming, they'll buy your stuff first. Here's proof. And he goes, deal. Writes me a check right there. And next thing you know, I'm running from Oregon to Mexico. And when we dedicated that playground and I saw the kids that were like me in that home playing on that playground, Josh, my life was changed forevermore.
Wow.
My life had a purpose. For the first time, I felt enriched. There's a difference between being rich and enriched, and there's no reason you can't be both. But I'm telling you one thing, Bob Marley was right. Life is worth much more than gold. I mean, I could sit here and cry right now. Seeing those kids play on that playground, and I was like, my life has a purpose. From 1998, I've lent my athletic ability to doing good.
Would you say that was the switch right there?
That was the fork in the road where I started using my athletic to do something good, where I started becoming quit proof, was in the mental hospital when I realized that I wasn't crazy, that I had problems and problems had solutions. And that quit proof was not even a thing. But that's where the switch started. The Marine Corps nurtured it. Chuck Norris nurtured it. All the time not knowing, cognitively knowing what was going on. When we dedicate the playground, bing, the light goes on. And Steve Jobs said that when you look back over your life, you can connect the dots that bring you're like, oh. And that was the bing moment for me.
Yeah, you're able to see,
Connect
this is why that happened. Mm-hmm. This is why I had to go through this. If this didn't happen, then this wouldn't have happened.
Correct. Per my book, like I was telling you, the first chapter is the compass and the catalyst. So I was told forever, got to write a book, got to write a book, got to write a book, got to have a movie, got to have a movie. So I started, when I started paddleboarding, and I was going to paddleboard from Oregon to Mexico in 2007, I had very little water experience. So I was learning, I was going to prone paddleboard, and I was looking at, with my friend who's a very famous surfer, Mickey Munoz. I'm looking in this magazine, and I said, who's this guy? And Mickey Munoz looks at it and he starts laughing. He goes, that's the best waterman in the world. That's Laird Hamilton. And I said, well, the way he's standing up on this board with this paddle, I said, that's way better than laying down on a board paddling, because I wanted to use my athletic ability to bring attention to what I felt was the unacceptable amount of plastic in the ocean. So there's a whole story that goes behind that. But so I end up meeting Laird Hamilton. We end up becoming friends. He ends up teaching me how to stand up paddleboard. And with almost no water experience at all, I start in Crescent City and I start paddleboarding from Oregon to Mexico.
Holy cow.
Crazy.
Before you did the run from Oregon to Mexico, were you running at all long distance?
Only to fight. And so I ran in 1998. I ran from Oregon to Mexico. And what I did was I started stopping at foster homes and sharing my story, which is the one thing I didn't want to do. That was the one thing that almost blew it all out of the water. I didn't want to share my story. I'm like, I'm not going to tell people. I'm a prize fighter, man. I'm not going to tell people I was raped by a big hairy back man at freaking 13 years old. No. They're like, well, you need to share your story. Otherwise, people won't care. Okay. And that's how I ended up. I mean, I know that my life's like a drunk driver, kind of. You know, we're going all over the place, but that's how my life is and was. In 1999, when I ran California for the second time, I very quietly let out an article, and it was a pretty big article, in a newspaper, and I think it was the LA Times, that I was molested in the children's home. So I'm running from Oregon to Mexico for the second time, and I get a letter out of the clear blue sky. And it was from a kid that was in the same home that I was, and he said he was molested too. And I was like, no way. I thought it was just me. So anyway, in 1999, the state of California very quietly opened the door legally to any child that was harmed by an institution, because there was a statute of limitations. But because of the Catholic debacle, they ended up opening the door for 1 year. That's how the state of California tried to smooth it over. They're like, okay, if you were in an institution and you were harmed, you have 1 year to file a claim. So there's a whole story that goes with that too. I mean, I hired a lawyer to do it, and we made a demand to the Masons, right, to settle. The lawyer flies up to Northern California, and the demand was for several $1 million. The lawyer flies back, and it's just me and him at this point. The lawyer gets us back in the room, and he goes, I got great news. And I go, what's the great news? He goes, they want to settle. I go, they do? He goes, yeah, they want to settle, and they want to settle for $300,000. I go, $300,000? We gave them a demand of $5 million. How does that work? I go, I got a 6th grade education, but that don't sound quite right. Yeah. So I started asking questions, and about the 3rd or 4th question I asked, I said, have you ever had any relationship with the Masons whatsoever? Any relationship whatsoever? He goes, well, kinda. And I go, well, what does well kinda mean? He goes, well, I have been an expert witness for them when they've had cases down in the Los Angeles area. I go, oh. I go, so you have something called, okay, I'm telling your people right here, it doesn't matter what your background is. You can do anything you set your mind to. I read a lot. I've read a lot. I'll read. And I go, oh, you have something called a conflict of interest then, don't you? He goes, well, not really. And I go, oh, no, really. You really have a conflict of interest. I go, you fly up to Northern California with your buddies. You go out to steak dinner. You're over cognac at dessert, because believe me, I know I bodyguarded one of the richest people in the freaking country for 12 years. So I know the deal, right? You could fly up to your freaking friends. You're like, I got this handled. These idiots will settle for $300,000. So I'm sitting there with the other kid in the home with me, right? And he's just like deer in the headlights. And I go, this is the part in the story where I give you the finger. You're fired, right? And I go find an attorney that can freaking get this done. Fuck you, you're out, right? And so the guy next to me goes, yeah, fuck you, you're out. So I go back to my friend that I'm bodyguarding, and I tell him what's going on. And he goes, well, you need to talk to my friend. My friend is so-and-so and such and such. He's the biggest class action attorney that there is. So I go drive to Los Angeles, and I went into this legal office that looked like the Taj Mahal, and I've never been there, but if I had, this is exactly what it would look like. I go into this guy's office. I tell him what's going on. My friend, who is one of the wealthiest people in the country, calls him in advance. So I've got all the credibility in the world walking in there. And so this guy has a suit on that was like, must have been $10,000-$12,000 just for the suit. He's got the cufflinks, everything's absolutely perfect. He's got the watch, all the stuff. He goes, okay. So I took my friend with me who was in the children's home since he was very young, like 4 years old. And he's like, no, there was a lot more kids that got molested, a lot more. So we tell this guy the story, and he says, okay, so here's what's going to happen. I'm going to start an investigation. I'm going to have to spend a whole lot of money doing it. Blah, 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 blah. We're going to take these on. We're going to take the Masons on. And I was like, okay, my friend says you're legit, right? You've got all the credibility in the world too. So he slides the thing over for me to sign, right? The agreement. And if I live to be a million, I'll never forget it. I pick up the pen to sign it, and I pull the pen back, and I said, can I ask you a question? He goes, sure. Ask me any question you want. I go, are you a 10,000-pound gorilla? He sits back in his desk. He starts giggling. He goes, oh, I'm a 10,000-pound gorilla. I go, you better be. I go, because we're taking on an organization that makes the Catholic Church look broke. Are you aware of that? He goes, oh, I know who the Freemasons are for sure. 100%. I go, so if you're a 10,000 pound gorilla and you can take these people down, you look me in the eye and say, you look me right in the eye and said, we can do this. And I go, okay, done. Gave the pen to him. He signed it, done. And we beat him.
Really? Wow. I imagine a lot more kids became involved in the class action.
20 kids over a 30-year period.
30 years? Wow.
And part of the settlement was, so we won and they wanted to settle. And I was like, well, part of the settlement is you can't raise kids anymore. And they're like, well, no, we don't want to do that. And I go, but I'm not settling. We're not settling. You are not responsible enough to raise children. So the agreement ended up that they would raise the kids that they had there and they would take on no more kids. And it's just now an old folks home.
Wow. That's quite an accomplishment. And
made the front page of a lot of newspapers.
And you and because you're a reader and you understood what a conflict of interest was, you know, because there'd be a lot of people that would say, oh, 300,000? Yeah, that's great. You know, especially what year is this?
1998, 1999, late 1999.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah. He was wanting to take it. He goes, what's the matter with you? Take the 300 grand, $150,000 each. Let's go. I go, oh, no way. There's something wrong here. I read a lot, but I'm also from the street. There's something rotten in Denmark, man. I smell a skunk here. Let me just, hold on a second. I have a few questions to ask you. You know, I want to, and like the third question I asked him, I was like, have you had anything to do with these people whatsoever? Anything whatsoever? And he goes, and the guy, I remember, like, we're sitting right here, Josh, he says, well, kinda. And I go, what does well, kinda mean? And I was fortunate. I got to bodyguard for one of the wealthiest, most successful businessmen in America. And he would take me all over the place with him. In all these business meetings, I would stand there and I would be privy to the conversation. And I read a lot. And I was like, there's something rotten in Denmark here, man. My street part of me tells me that. Now, as I was gaining business knowledge and how things work kicked in, and I was like, hey, let's talk about this.
If they would have came back and said, you know, yeah, we'll give you $5 million, it would have been a whole different outcome, because going the other route, you saved a lot of kids' lives.
Oh, immeasurably, Josh. And let me tell you something. What they did was they took the 20 kids and they broke them into smaller groups. But we all met together as a group, and I'm telling you that the other 19 kids were destroyed. None of them. One kid was that they couldn't, ended up being released from prison. Some people that were, I mean, how do you sugarcoat it? Were gay, tried to pick up on him, and he killed them because he had been molested by big hairy black men. He killed him. He was in prison for murder. They ended up getting him out of prison. However, that legally happened. But the other 19 people they did not do well.
Wow. They got him out of prison based off of the case, right?
Based off the case.
I think something's going on like that actually with the Menendez brothers.
They're trying, yeah.
That's amazing, dude. Not anyway. That's incredible.
No, like, it's David versus Goliath, big time. I have my slingshot, and I'm just like,
dude. That's the money's one thing, but to think about
the money was nothing compared to that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Getting the kids justice, but all the future kids.
The closure, right? To put an end to it, to put a closing to it. There's closure to it. At the end of the day, the money goes away. But I got justice, and I got justice for them. It was, I mean, you can look it up. It's Jones et al. Versus Masonic Homes of California. It's public case. Like, it's there.
Wow, man. That's an amazing story.
It's a crazy story, yeah.
That is amazing, man. Yeah. Wow. So you get through with that, then what?
I keep lending my athletic ability to worthwhile causes and keep doing my thing. I ended up opening a martial arts school and gym that ended up doing really well until COVID. And then I ended up, because of the paddleboarding and, again, the unacceptable amount of plastic that I felt was in the ocean. There's a whole story that goes with that. But I paddled the West Coast, and paddleboarding was brand new. Stand-up paddleboarding was brand spanking new. And I got called up by a couple different magazines that told me that you set the world record. And I knew that nobody paddled that far. And I was like, well, the world record helped me get out there and help me, because I wanted to help people. That's what I wanted to do. And they go, yeah, it'll help you. And I go, good, world record it is. Fine. And then in 2010, I paddled from Key West to New York and broke that record. But I ended up coming up with an environmental youth education program that's in elementary schools now.
Wow. How did you do that?
Well, there's an interesting story that goes with that too. So I paddleboard because I wanted to bring awareness to it. So paddleboarding from Oregon to Mexico, setting the world record, was bringing awareness to plastic pollution. Paddling from Key West to New York was bringing awareness to plastic pollution. Then I met with a lady that was expert in consultant in philanthropy and foundations. And she told me, well, what you're doing is really, because I wanted to start a foundation and I wanted to start doing this philanthropy thing, right? And she goes, well, you're pretty cool and everything. You're a great athlete and everything. She goes, and I'll never forget it. She goes, but no. She goes, what you have to do is come up with something that's cool, hip, fun, and makes a difference. Never forget it. And then she said to me, but I don't think that you'll be able to do that. And I looked at her and I was like, that's it, right? So I end the meeting with her and I went to go paddleboard in the harbor here in Huntington Harbor. And I'm paddling on my paddleboard and I'm like, she doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. Blah, 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 blah. Right? And all of a sudden I have an epiphany. I'm like, hey, SUP, stand-up paddleboard, right? SUP. I'm like, single-use plastic. I'm like, oh. I was like, hey, and there is a God, I'm telling you. I'm literally getting this divine stuff, same as when I'm running, trying to figure out how I'm going to raise money to help these little kids. I'm running along, Josh. I'm like, I can't beat the shit out of people. What am I going to do? And then you'll run the long way. You'll stop at children's homes along the way. You'll share your story and you'll raise money and get a playground for these people. Same thing when I'm on the paddleboard. I get this divine epiphany that SUP, single-use plastic, rethink single-use plastic, and I'm going to come up with this education thing. And so I go down that rabbit hole and come to what we call RESUP, rethink single-use plastic. So I do a bunch of research because read, right? I'm like, I know I'm gonna come up with this program. In this program, I'm going to go into elementary schools because of the first generation of kids that are environmentally conscious in the first grade. So they care, right? They're born. It's in their DNA. They want to be environmentally conscious. And I'm going to show them how. So I created the RESUP Challenge, which basically I go into elementary schools, show them a slideshow about plastic, good plastic, bad plastic, plastic's harmful to marine life, on and on and on. And I challenge them to go to their home and take an inventory of their family's use of single-use plastic for a week. I give them a grid and a logbook, and it's the top 4 offenders: the plastic bag, the plastic bottle, the straw, and the styrofoam container. Then I know that kids love getting stuff, right? What kid doesn't like to get stuff? So when the kid goes home and they take and they tell their parents, plastic's bad, right? And we're going to take this inventory of what our family does, because I tell them, one of my slides is, we need superheroes. Which superhero are you going to be, right? Because we're gonna team up and we're going to be superheroes, and we're going to make the change in your home where you're going to use less single-use plastic. And where my program went viral is that when they turn that inventory into the school, my foundation gives them a reusable bag, reusable bottle, reusable lunchbox, a reusable straw. And they love getting stuff, right? And then they would run home and so my phone started ringing hot with the faculty and the principals going, your program's awesome. Your program's awesome. I go, why? Because the kids are bringing this stuff to school and they're using it and they're talking about it and blah, 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 blah. So I was going all over the country and I was giving these. The first time I did it was to a classroom and the principal's in there. And she goes, this program's great. Do you think you can do it for the whole school? And I had enough money for resup kits for the kids that were in the class, and that's it, right? And I was like, well, yeah, we could set up a date to do that. And she goes, well, how's today? And I'm like, I'm trying to keep my poker face. I'm like, today? She's like, yeah. And I go, well, how many kids do you have in the school? She goes, 500. I have like 30 resup kits and no money. Right? Okay. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it today. Right? It's the same presentation. I'm here. What the hell? And I have no money. Right? So we go and she gets 500 kids together. We get this, assembly going. I get these kids freaking on the roof, ready to jump. Right? And again, divine stuff where I go, when I scream, what's up? You scream, resup. I go, usually they're telling you to be quiet. I'm telling you to blow the roof off this place, right? And I'm like, what's up? And they just lose it. You know what I mean? And so anyway, I leave there and I'm like, I don't have money for these kids, right? So I'm thinking maybe 3 weeks go by and I get a call from the principal. They had a 99% participation rate. So 99% of 500 kids did the resup challenge, and I owed them a resup kit.
Wow.
So I went and hustled my ass off and raised enough money to do it, and then it was on its way.
Wow. Holy cow, man.
I was telling people, there's kids, man. They're waiting for the resup kit. You got to donate.
Wow. My daughter gets on me and my wife about plastic all the time. She comes into the house and she's like, why are you guys drinking water out of this and out of that? We're getting a lot of the bottles, and she's like, you need to get your own water. So we started ordering the sparklets, the 5-gallon jugs. Sure. But now she's even honest about that, like, you guys are drinking water out of this plastic 5-gallon. I'm like, what do you want us to do? What do we do next? And she's talking about filter systems and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. And microplastics and nanoplastics now are really bad. So when COVID hit, my gym that was giving me a very gainful livelihood and my environmental youth education program stopped overnight. They shut the elementary schools down and gyms couldn't do business. I had no money. I went to work for a shipyard, scraping barnacles off the bottom of boats.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I did that for over a year.
And that program never got revamped?
It's getting revamped right now.
Oh, that's great.
We're relaunching it right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And with Quit Proof, right? I'm at Laird Hamilton's house one day. He calls me and sits me down and he goes, and we're talking Kid Rock, we're talking Rick Rubin, we're talking all these people would come to his house to train, right? He goes, you got more in your backyard than most people that come. And so Laird and I became very close friends. So about 9 years ago, roughly, maybe 8 years ago, he sits me down and tells me, you need a brand. And I'm like,
Laird does?
Yeah. And I go, well, I don't know how to do that. So there was a guy sitting there. His name's Darren O'Lean, best-selling author, wrote Shakeology. He goes, I know somebody. He goes, she's a professional namer. She named the chapters of my book. And I go, a professional namer? There is such a thing? He goes, yeah. So anyway, he introduces me to this lady who sits me down for 2 days and interviews the holy hell out of me. She just asked me question after question after question after question for 2 days. Tells me, she goes, I'm going on vacation. I'll call you in about 2 weeks. I've got enough information. When I drive up, I go, well, tell me some of the stuff that you've named. She goes, see your truck, the Honda Ridgeline? I go, yeah. She goes, I named that. I go, really? She goes, yeah. She goes, have you ever heard of MTV? I go, yeah. She goes, I named MTV too. What? She goes, have you heard of Snuggle? I go, I live under a rock, but I've heard of Snuggle. She goes, I named that, right? She named all this stuff that like household stuff. So she tells me she's going on vacation. About 3 days later, my phone rang and it's her. And she's hyperventilating. She's like, it's me, blah, blah, blah. I go, aren't you on vacation? She goes, yes, but you're quit proof. You're quit proof. That's what you are. You're quit proof. You are quit proof. She goes, the URL is available. If you like it, you need to go get it right now. So anyway, I just go, oh my gosh, you nailed it. That's exactly what I am. I'm quit proof. So I went and I got the URL and I started using the trademark and to snap forward, I wanted to write a book because I had left a bread trail of how I've gone from adversity, from victim to victor, right? How I had done that. And I was ready to write a book. And so I called her up out of clear blue sky. I hadn't talked to her in like 7 years ish. And I was like, hey, because I called my friend, the guy that I told you about that told me about the namer, because he was a best-selling author. I go, hey, I want to write a book. How do I do it? He goes, you just start writing. Get it out of your mind on a piece of paper. So it wasn't long before I had a stack of crumbled up papers like this tall. And I was like, so I called this lady up and I go, hey, I know I haven't talked to you in a long time, but I thought of you. Ooh, another divine thing. I go, do you know anybody that can write books? She goes, I sure do. And I go, well, could you connect me with them? She goes, yeah, it's me. I go, you can write books? She goes, I can write books all day long. So anyway, I talked to her and told her what I wanted to do. And she goes, we need to do a book on post-traumatic growth with your life story, because it's a book with a purpose. So our flagship book, Becoming Quit Proof, that just went bestseller, basically is my life story. And then it has exercises right in the middle of a chapter. Do this for yourself. Ask yourself this. And it is a manual how you can take yourself and navigate your way through trauma to triumph.
Wow. And the lady who named Snuggle and MTV and
she goes, I felt bad taking their money. And she told me on that one, I go, you just called it MTV too? She goes, yeah, it was so simple. She goes, I felt bad taking their money, but I did.
Wow. I'm thinking, like, how do people even reach out to a name?
Well, people in the know that she has a sterling reputation, and she charged them a lot of money.
Wow.
She charged me back then. She charged me a lot of money. I go, you want that much money for coming up with the name? She goes, I'm giving you a deal. So anyway, she wrote the book, and I was like, well, how are we going to launch this? She goes, well, that's a whole nother thing. And again, back to reading, right? I do tremendous amount of reading, right? I go, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about, I'll start a company and you can have equity in the company. Are you interested in that? And she goes, well, let's talk about it. So we talked about it, and I showed her all these different verticals, right? There's motivational speaking. I said, Quit Proof can be a chicken soup series. It can be Quit Proof for vets, Quit Proof for moms, Quit Proof for teens, Quit Proof for corporate executives. So that's another vertical. There's in-person events. We can do this subscription community where we take people that are traumatized, which we have, called the Trusted Tribe. And that's what I want to offer people that are listening to this podcast. If you've gone through trauma, go to quitproof.com, look at the Trusted Tribe. We help people go from trauma to triumph, just like I did. And I have a complete method of how to do it.
It's great to hear, like, everything that you endured.
I got the street credibility.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been there and done that.
Because, like, you could really show somebody how to get through it because you did it yourself.
And I wanted to create a community of like-minded people that had the same similar experiences, spoke the same language, right? Had empathy for one another. Because people that have been through trauma, they have patience and empathy for other people that have been through trauma. So we just launched all this in January. It's called the Trusted Tribe. It's getting it off the ground. I'm trying to offer this to veterans, to where if you're a veteran, right, we'll figure it out. So it costs $22 for a vet. I find the other $22. We match it. If you don't have money, contact me. It doesn't matter. I don't want money to stand in the way. We'll get you in. We'll get you help. Now we're going to take this back to when I was stretching out with Chuck Norris, and he looked at me and said, the more people you can figure out how to help, the more blessed and successful you'll be. That's the mission statement for my company. So anytime we're in a corporate company meeting and they start talking about this is the way we can make money, I'm like, pump the brakes. We're not in the business of making money. We're in the business of helping people. That's what we do. And if we help people, way more than money will rain out of the sky. So I'm trying to get to Trump right now, right? I want to be the trauma guy. I'm trying to get to Lincoln Riley right now. I want to help her family. I'm trying to get to Jocelyn's family. All these people I'm trying to get to veterans, anybody. And the CDC says that 90% of people have experienced significant trauma in their life. And like I said on that Jeff Lerner podcast that you were listening to, I'd like to meet the 10% that haven't. And then Jeff Lerner says to me, well, what's good about trauma? I'm like, what's good about trauma? I was like, no challenge, no trauma, no growth. That's what it is. That's the big setup. Challenge is part of it. And I just did an interview with CBS, and I said, here's the deal. The adversity and the opportunity, right? Second chapter of my book. I go, you think when I was being raped by big hairy back men that I ever had any inkling that I'd be helping people today? That's the opportunity and the adversity. It's there. You just got to look for it. So when people tell me their horror story, I listen to every single word of it. And I say, now let's take the quarter and turn it over. Let's see what's on the other side of it. Where's the opportunity in this adversity? Because it's there. We might have to hunt for a while, but it's there. No, it's not there. Bullshit. It is too there. You want to know why? Because I was raped by big hairy back men. My dad pointed a gun at my head multiple times with a loaded gun. And I know it was loaded because it was a fucking revolver. And he would pull the trigger sometimes because he played Russian roulette with me. Right? So I know. Don't tell me. I know. I have danced with the devil in the pale moonlight. I have been a drug addict. I know what bad is. And I'm telling you that I went through all of that so I could be here to help you today. And I can do it. This is a hell of an interview, isn't it?
That's amazing, man. I mean, you were telling me about, flipping the coin when we just first spoke on the phone. Yeah. And I was telling you about some of the stuff that I had been through with losing a lot of money and dealing with bad business partners and all this stuff. And, right away you're like, that's great. Look for the opportunity in that.
Right. Where is it? It might be hiding, but it's there someplace. And it is.
If you look at all the people that are just, extreme athletes or extreme anything, they've all been through the shit, Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of people know David Goggins, what I mean? One of his book, Can't Hurt Me, really inspired me. Yeah. And he is the way he is because of everything that he endured through his childhood and his life, and there's many people like that, like him, who've endured.
And here's the bottom line, and I said it on CBS. I was like, hey, here's the deal. You come up to adversity, boom, you're at a fork in the road. Right then and there, you're at a fork in the road. You can take this fork, and that fork is being a victim, right? And being a victim's easy. All you have to do is lay down and get run over and say, I got run over. They did this to me. It's because of them. It's because of this. It's because of the other thing. That's one fork in the road. Now, this other fork in the road is to victory, right? Or victor. It's an uphill road, and there's a lot of challenges on the road, right? But that road leads to a place that's a great place. This road leads to a dead end. So anytime you come up to a challenge, there's a fork in the road. Do I want to be a victim or do I want to be a victor? Which path am I going to take? This path has a lot of challenges. It's uphill, and so on and so forth. But there is wonderful things at the top of that hill. I am living proof to tell you that it is way better than being a victim because I've done both. I've been a freaking drug addict, victim, blamed my father, blamed the children's home, blamed being molested, blamed everything else, right? And I've been down that road, and that road sucks. And it has a dead end. But this road has wonders attached to it, right? And that's the road that I encourage people to take because that's the choices that we have.
Do you have a process that you take yourself through while you're in that stage of
that? That is a great question. And I am so glad. I'm glad you asked it, man. This is awesome. This is a magic time that we're having right here. Me and you, Josh. This is a magic time. So I've created a program, right? People ask me, how can you run 121 marathons in a row? How can you paddleboard through, let me tell you something, paddling on the west coast of California, some of the toughest coastline in the world, and with no water experience. I did an interview about 100 miles in, and the lady goes, you've been about 100 miles down the coastline now. She said, what's the biggest thing that standed out to you so far? And I looked her right in the eye and I go, where I fit in on the food chain. She goes, what do you mean by that? And I go, well, when I got in the water here at Crescent City, I said, I was paddling along thinking to myself, I'm the apex creature in the ocean, until I saw my first 15-foot plus great white shark about 6 feet away from me doing a belly roll underneath my wave runner. I said, then it was painfully apparent that I am fish food. That's what I am. I'm a freaking parasite on a gnat's ass. That's what I am. So I have a method that I've taken. It's a 6-month program, right? And the first thing that we do is we figure out, just like I told you, when we dedicated that playground, I had a compass pointed, that my compass was pointed in that direction. I knew that I was going to use my athletic ability to serve and raise money for worthwhile causes for the rest of my life. That's where my compass was pointed. And people say, how do you not quit? And how do you not quit is, I can just tell you a story. So I ran 1990. I wanted to run across the country to start with, but I couldn't raise enough money. So I said, I'll spoon feed it to them, because I didn't think I could do it athletically. So I ran California, tried to raise money to run across the nation again. Couldn't do it. I said, another spoonful. I run California again, this time at a pace of a marathon a day, every day. Then I get my big break in 2000, where I'm going to run across the nation, right? A marathon a day, every single day. The company that was going to sponsor it started running out of money. So we were supposed to start running in April. In June, I was telling the company, like, hey, here's the deal. We're going to do this or not. So we ended up doing it. So I started running across the country in 2000 on the 4th of July. I was the Grand Marshal for the Huntington Beach Parade, 4th of July parade with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I literally was the first guy in the parade. I start running and I'm waving at people. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, yeah. And I kept running across the nation, a marathon a day, every single day. Can you imagine running through the Mojave Desert in July? Right. Exactly. I'm in the middle of the Mojave Desert. My toenails are starting to fall off. Blisters like you can't even begin to imagine. Brutal heat and nobody in sight. Right? And I'm on the side of the road. And the only agreement I made to myself, Josh, was if I could pick one foot up and put it in front of the other, I wouldn't quit. I wouldn't stop. As long as I could do that, I would keep going. And every time I stopped at a children's home, I got reignited to go to the next. So I just daisy chained children's homes. But I'm sitting on the side of the road in the middle of the Mojave Desert, crying my eyes out, going, whose effing idea was this anyway? This sucks. I haven't seen anybody for a week. Nobody cares. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm just pity party in it, you know? And then I just had an epiphany. I was like, this is bullshit. You can too. Keep going. Get your freaking scrawny ass up and take another step, because you know you can. And this is your why's in place. That's how I can do it, because my why's in place. I knew there was kids ahead of me waiting to hear my story, and I knew there was kids behind me that had heard my story and their lives were changed from it. And so I kept going, because my why was in place. So to your question, the first thing we do is we help people find out what their why is. What's the mission statement for your life? Mine, like I told you, is to become the best integrated version I can become in my lifetime in service to others. What does that mean? It means physically, mentally, emotionally, intuitionally, and having decisions from my heart and mind. That's what integrated means, right? And so that's the mission statement for our lives. We help people figure out what their North Star is. What's your why? Why do you get up in the morning? What's the direction? And it has to be solid, because you're going to be running into obstacles along the way, right? Like I was with Mojave Desert, but my why was in place. I wanted to change lives of kids that were like me, that thought that they had to be losers because they didn't have parents and they were in foster home or whatever. My why was in place. And anytime I do something, the first question I ask is why. The last time I ran across the country, I was 60 years old. The company came to me. They said, we want to do this, this, and this. The very first question I said is, why? Why do you want to do it? And they said, because we want to reignite patriotism in the youth. And I go, really? How do you plan to do that? So they laid it out to me, and I go, I'm in. Let's go. Marathon a day, every day. Let's go. So I ran 76 marathons in a row from Montebello, Alabama, that has a place called the American Village, which is, they have replicas of things that were instrumental in the not Civil War, but the Revolutionary War. And they reenact things with Ben Franklin and the tea tax and all this other stuff. And they bring kids in and they get them to understand that they have a great country and why they should be behind it. And so they wanted to build a replica of this place in Utah, and they wanted me to run a marathon a day every day. And they run national television commercials for their product. It's called Balance of Nature, right? And I was like, here's the deal. I'll run the marathons. You do a national TV. We do TV commercials, and we start talking about reigniting youth and the patriotism in the youth. We do that, and I'm in. And so I ran a marathon a day every single day across the United States and went to Utah, and we broke ground for that place. It was
wow.
And I can tell you something. How do you pull something off? You win in your mind first. And I got that from Mark Divine. You win in your mind first. Every time, and it's interesting because when I trained in the ties, every time after I trained, they would make me jump around saying, I'm world champion, I'm world champion, I'm world champion, I'm world champion. And I thought it was so stupid when I started. I was like, this is fucking stupid, man. But I bought into it. And next thing you know, right? Because I had one in my mind. When I ran across the country this last time, every time that I run, and I visualize in my mind finishing, I hear the people cheering. I hear what people say. I see things and stuff like that. And the thing that's going to just weird you out is that everything that I saw when I finished in Utah was exactly how I envisioned it. It was a dirt field. I was running down this dirt trail. People were waiting for me and cheering. The only thing that was different is they had me carrying an American flag over my head. That was the only thing I didn't visualize. But I was like, this is weird. I literally visualized exactly how it laid out. Wow. But I had one in my mind first. So when they interviewed me, I said, I had already won that in my mind. All I had to do was take the steps between Montebello, Alabama and Utah. But in my mind, it was already done. And so that's what I work with people that trauma. I work with them. I say, we're going to win in our mind. We're going to figure this out. We're going to get your North Star. We're going to break out the sledgehammer. Second chapter of my book, like I told you, wall and sledgehammer. You're going to run into obstacles. But we're going to identify the limiting beliefs. We're going to identify the fears, and we're going to work out a method of how to smash those down. Adversity and the opportunity. You're going to tell me your story. And we're going to work together, and we're going to find out where the opportunity is in there, because it's in there, right? It's someplace. And then the emotion and the truth, the next chapter of my book, we're going to teach you to be the commander of your emotional control room. I control my emotions do not control me. And when you can get to a place where you're the commander of your emotional control room, and Bruce Lee said it, true strength is being in control of your emotions. That's what true strength is. And when you can learn to control your emotions, that gives you a superpower. You're not chasing your tail, right? You're in command of your emotions. We all have emotions. And when we can learn how to take command of those, it's a big superpower, right? The emotion and the truth, and then the training and the trust. The more we train together, the more we trust. And so I have a one-to-one program that I work with people on. We take them through identifying what their North Star is, but we do the same thing in the Trusted Tribe. What I did with the Trusted Tribe that was really unique was I wanted to make it dynamic. So it's me once a month. I brought in this lady who is a PhD that's a core expert and a breath work expert. And she does all kinds of different breathing and core work stuff. And then I brought in a yoga somatic movement lady who is amazing. She actually certifies yoga instructors. So we do somatic movement once a month, and she does meditation. And then we have a counselor that actively works at the VA counseling people that have post-traumatic stress disorder. So that's what the Trusted Tribe is. So there's two compartments. We have a community that we have people come in and join that community that are going through trauma as everyday trauma, veterans with trauma, fire victims with trauma, people that are in the hurricane, all of those.
I'm thinking about like the big pain point in the veteran community with suicide. And, you know, I mean, I've been doing this for over 3 years now, and it seems like one of the big like contributors is the loss of identity from the military, which is essentially losing your why, right?
Yeah.
Is you know, what do you know, how What do you think the big issue with that is? Why are so many veterans taking their lives?
I think it's because in the military, we have similar stuff going on. We speak the same language. We have camaraderie, right? All of that stuff. And it's in the transition back to the civilian world where all of that goes away, right? You don't have the guy that you can count on in the trenches that's going to lay down his or her life for you. You don't have that anymore. You have somebody that'll stab you in the back for $10, right? So it's that transit. You need two things. You need people and you need purpose. That's what you need. And that's what you really lose in the military, the transition, right? You lose your people, you lose your trusted tribe, right? You lose your people and you lose your purpose. In the military, we always got a mission. Always. Mm-hmm. You always have a mission. In the Marine Corps, you're a basic rifleman, period. I don't care what you do. You're a basic rifleman. And you got a mission, you get a new mission, your mission. In the civilian life, you lose your mission. You got to go figure a mission out. You got to go find a mission. And a patriotic mission is virtuous. Like, hey man, you got the best country in the world. You're serving your country. You're feeling good about it. You've got a brotherhood and a sisterhood. You got people that understand you, that are going through the same shit that you're going through. And that's why people make it through war. They're all at the end of the day, Josh, in humanity, we're all in the same boat together, man. Period. The end. We can think whatever we want to think, but at the end of the day, we're all in this together. And that's why I built the Trusted Tribe, a community of people that are like-minded. All the people in the Trusted Tribe are going through trauma. They get it. Our mission is to become mentally healthy so we can sustain a healthy and happy life, and that's what the Trusted Tribe is a place where people are going through similar experiences, speak the same language, have empathy for each other. Same in the military. We have empathy for each other. We're going through the same shit, That's why we support one another. We're all going through the same shit. And the sooner humanity figures that out, the better off we'll all be. But I'm trying to do my little piece of it with Quit Proof. And the Trusted Tribe is that community that we want to build to have people do it. And what I'm trying to do is go to veteran-owned companies and say, hey, we want veterans to come in this for no charge at all to veterans. Will you sponsor a veteran? And I'm telling you right now, if you're a veteran that's suffering from post-traumatic stress, you find me on quitproof.com. Money's not going to be a problem. We will get you help. I'll find somebody to scholarship you in. Same as I did with the RESA. I had 500 little kids and I didn't have any money, but I figured it out.
Just say yes and figure it out.
You want to know why? Because if your why is in place, the how, you'll figure it out. As long as that why is strong. I want to help veterans get healthy. That is my why. And I don't give a shit. I'll figure it out. I will help you.
And so what's the process like of trying to help people figure out what their why is, like what they want to do? People that are just like, well, I don't know what it is.
I have a whole process. We ask questions. Mm-hmm. What are your values? What's important to you? Blah, 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 blah. I have a whole process that I've created, this program that flushes all of that stuff out. And then we help you figure out what your North Star is, right? Like I was telling you, we get in the elevator on the first floor. By the third floor, I need to know what the mission statement for your life is.
Yeah.
And it has to be like 1 to 3 sentences, maybe 4 at the most. Because again, then I have people set up morning rituals and evening rituals, right? Why do we do that? Because when you get up in the morning, you have something called a brain. So the first thing we want to do is program that brain, right? What I program my brain. I will become the best integrated version of myself in my lifetime in service to others. Enter. And then I start my day, right? Then when I go to bed at night, right before I go to sleep, I want to program my subconscious mind. And I do that by saying, I will become the best integrated version of myself in my lifetime in service to others. Enter. And my subconscious mind is working on that while I'm sleeping. So I help people create morning rituals and evening rituals so that we can bookend your day healthy. And we can program that computer, that cognitive computer on the way out, and that subconscious computer for when you're sleeping. And we just rinse and repeat. And then we figure out what your limiting beliefs and your fears are. And we identify those, we flesh those out, and then I help people go through a process and I make them figure it out. I'm going, okay, you're afraid of the water. So what are some of the things you can do to overcome that fear? Well, I could go and put my foot in the water. Okay, that's a great start. And what can we do after that? We can go in and put our up to our knee in. You know what I mean? And I have people figure it out themselves. And the people that tell me, "Oh my God, you've helped me so much. I couldn't have done this without you." And I was like, "Look, you climbed Mount Everest. You did the hard work." Because we want to say, "Thank you so much." I'm like, go to the mirror, look in the mirror, and thank that person. They did the heavy lifting. All I am is a Sherpa. I can show you the way because I have done it myself. I got the credibility. I have taken the biggest botch job. And when I talk to the youth, troubled youth, I'm like, "Hey man, tell you what, if we compare stories, you'll cry before I will, okay? So let's go, just take my hand. We'll do this together, man. I'm telling you, we'll do this together. We can do this together. I know the way. I have the method." And we were talking about this with you, that this is the opportunity that came. You'll see that because that happened, this happened, right? And this is going to be like, it's going to be like, big hairy back man molested me and I'm able to help you today, right? And I want to help every veteran out there. And if you're thinking about suicide, get in touch with me, man. I'm telling you, I have totally been there. Wanting to kill myself a zillion ways from Sunday, but that what happened to you for a reason. And one of the first things when we sat down, I said, nothing happens for no reason. Mm-hmm. I'm true believer in that, man.
I believe that too, but it still hurts.
Oh, of course.
It stings, you know?
Yeah.
And
have you ever heard that the universe doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you need?
Yeah.
But, you know what I mean? That never, negativity, and that's never the answer, man. The answer is down a different path. And that's what I mean. You came up to that adversity. That's the roadblock, right? And you could have been the victim and you could have went and killed this guy or whatever, hurt him real bad or whatever, right? And that would have been the victim path. But see, you took the urban valor path. You took the victor path. Mm-hmm. And that roadway is going to lead you to places, my friend, that you cannot imagine. Mm-hmm. Wonderful places.
Dude, how do you run 121 marathons in 121 days, man? I got it. Like, so I don't understand that. How do you?
There's two things, right? So I was asked that question, and when I got to New York, and I go, as simple as this. I go, you put one foot in front of the other and push real hard until you get there. I said, that's the easy answer. The other answer is that your why has to be in place. So those times when it's 113 degrees outside and you haven't seen shit except for roadkill, your toenails are falling off for the second and third times, right? Because your toenail falls off, grows back, falls off again. Blisters like you can't believe. Soreness, heat, the list goes on. But I knew that I was doing something that was going to help little kids that were just like me, that were hopeless, and I would give them hope. And that's what kept me going. So the way you do it is make your why so strong that there's nothing that will stand in your way to get to your objective, right? Because I want to do good things with my life. That's why I do what I do. And when I was running one time, I was telling the sponsor, I said, I can guarantee you that you'll get publicity either way, because they were worried about impressions. I go, I guarantee you'll get impressions. They go, how can you do that? And I said, here's how I can do it. I said, I'm going to turn in a fucking corpse either way. And they go, what does that mean? I go, I'll either show up there alive and you'll get press, or I'll die along the way and you'll get press. And they go, son of a bitch, I'll get impressions. I go, you'll get impressions. Sign here, initial here, and pay there.
That's just a prime example, though, of where your mind can take you, right?
I want it so bad, I'll do anything, including turn tits up and die. That's how bad I want it. And that's why you've got to figure out where your why has to be locked on. And that's one of the things that we help you do. We help you identify, have a whole process that helps you identify that. And you know that is the single greatest thing of people that participate with me. When they get their North Star, they all say the same thing. Oh my God, I can't believe it. I feel so great. I say, yeah, because you have a direction. Mm. You have a rock to stand on. Now you have a rock to stand on. Now you've got something solid underneath your feet. Now we can build from there because we know what to say yes to and we know what to say no to. Something comes across your radar and it doesn't support the rock that you're standing on, it's a no. Something comes across your radar, it supports the rock you're standing on, it's a yes. Very black and white. Now let's move on to, you're going to face challenges. Let's try to flush out as many of those limiting beliefs and as many of those fears as exist right now. And let's take out our sledgehammer and let's start whacking them down. Whack-a-mole. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it because I know how to do it.
Wow.
But you're going to do all the work. I'm just going to show you how to do it. And I make them do the work.
Wow, Tom, we're going to wrap it up, man. We're getting ready to wrap it up. Any last words before we cut the tape?
If you're a veteran, you need help, you're suffering with post-traumatic stress. If you're a spouse of a veteran, because one thing that we're finding out is that a lot of spouses of veterans are going through trauma. They get yanked up from where they were raised. They get taken out to the middle of nowhere. They got no friends. You know, it gets very lonely for them and so on. If you're a veteran or you're the spouse of a veteran and you're going through trauma and you want help and you want to join with a community of people that get it, quitproof.com, trusted tribe. I don't care. I don't want money to stand in the way. If you need help, we'll figure out how to make it happen.
It's been a pleasure and an honor to sit with you, brother.
Yeah, it's been good stuff.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. Good job, Josh. Okay.